Hello, everybody. We got a little Maroon 5, a little Girls Like You, which will come into play here in a few minutes in our first segment, with the lead singer getting a little bit of hot water, especially amongst women and feminists and things of that nature. But hi, this is Two Queers and a Truck with Jenny-Jaymes Gunn, which is myself, and my partner in crime, Christian Cano. How are you doing, Christian? How you doing, boo?
Good, boo. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I'm doing better than Adam Levine, the lead singer of Maroon 5. Do you know who Maroon 5 is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on some music show or something, right?
Yeah, he's on The Voice.
Yeah. Okay.
I used to watch it pretty regularly, but I haven't watched it in years. Just
okay.
There's other shows I prefer to watch.
Yeah. What happened?
But, so we'll go right into it. It's in the first segment. Self-inflicted dum-dum wounds strikes again. Adam Levine, and this has been an emerging story over the last 4 or 5 days, maybe a little bit longer. The lead singer of Maroon 5 and a gold record, platinum record, award-winning musician, also one of the co-hosts of the NBC Universal TV's The Voice, has been having multiple extramarital affairs and sexually coming on to fairly young women. They're of legal age, like 22, 25, 26 years old. A couple issues. One, Adam has been married for quite a while, has 2 kids with his current wife. Mm-hmm. And the story kind of broke when some of these young women came forward and were saying, yeah, like Adam's like slipping into our DMs on Instagram. And of course, he's world famous. He's got the little blue dot verified, he's multi-platinum, fucking artist. And slipping in and saying, hey, what's up, girl? And having a little chit chat and then say, hey, you're really attractive, this, that sort of thing. And then kind of work it into like to meet up, that sort of thing. And has actually met up real time with several of them. A little bit even worse, one of the original ones, and maybe even the first one he had an affair with, he liked her name so much that his second child born, he named his second child after the woman he was having an affair with. And it just, first of all, obviously, Adam's not the first famous person to do, stupid stuff like this. And there's just no other way. It's just stupid. This is just self-inflicted.
Exactly.
Wound. But, we've seen people like, Trump obviously has had extramarital affairs. It's what's usually cost him all of his marriages. Then we had somebody that was a little rapey, like a Kevin Spacey, for example, that when he was going and grooming these young men, got in all kinds of trouble, and it really just basically ended his career. And then, of course, Mel Gibson and the way he talked to his long-term partner and spouse, and that a very abusive rant that played over the airwaves about 8-9 years ago. And you have to wonder what the mindset of these fairly wealthy and powerful men using their platform to either be abusive to romantic partners and or cheat on spouses, things like this. And it just, especially in this era, like the Adam Levine story, these girls had the receipts. These women had the receipts. They were like screenshotting all the things that he was sending them and in conversations. And so literally, he's doing it on Instagram direct messenger, just slide into their DMs like they're old buddies or something. And you got this 43, 44-year-old man, hitting on 22, 23, 24. Typically, they're models. They, like his wife, his current wife, is a Victoria's Secret model. Just played the field like he's like Joe Schmo, Joe Schmick, six-pack, hitting on these women. But he's Adam Levine, and he's married.
Yeah.
The big one's he's married and has kids and is publicly cheating and going after very vulnerable people. But, I don't know. You and I are mildly famous, well-known people in this region. And I don't know about you, but I think if I got to that point in life where I was like Adam Levine, Kevin Spacey famous,
Mm-hmm.
the last thing I'd be doing is sending people DMs on a very easily snap, that you could not only keep the receipts of the
Mm-hmm.
the offers and innuendos and stuff, but you just think you would think you got to a certain stage of success that you would be smarter than that.
I completely agree with you, Jenny. And the only thing that I can say when I hear stories like this is, if you don't want to have the responsibility that comes along with attention, privilege, stardom, whatever celebrityness, whatever terms people are looking for, just like an executive in a company has to abide by certain standards because they represent an organization, just like an elected official who represents their constituents and so forth. You're only in that time frame for a short period of time, unless you're someone like Cher, who's been there forever. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
During that short period of time, you owe it to your family and to people to just do your job. If it is so overwhelming, pull back from your job. If you want to become a slut and become do the things that you wanted to do when you were in your 20s, then pull back from the spotlight and do those things. But you can't have it. I mean, these people who think they should be able to have, Oprah Winfrey said, you can have everything that you want, just not at the same time.
Right.
And so if that's what he wants, then he needs to get off this talk show. He needs to get all these platforms that give him there's some responsibility that he owes his fans and so forth. Now, the argument is, well, it's my private life. I should be able to do this. You went into a profession that in 2022, you don't have a private life, or else you wouldn't be on social media.
Well,
if you wanted, if you don't want it, you'd be off social media. Yeah, exactly.
It's just like you ran for office.
Yeah.
Let's say if you'd gone differently and you'd won in 2016, you'd have to move to Washington, D.C. You'd have to do you have to do certain things to be in the House of Representatives.
I wouldn't be able to hang out at the sports bar drinking late at night. Right. I wouldn't be able to, there's many things that you shouldn't do. Yeah. And
you have to trade those. You have to. It's kind of like the old, a lot of times in the old cartoons. Remember how you'd sell the soul to the devil. There'd be a little devil and an angel on your shoulder and all that. But more or less, when you make, especially money like Adam Levine's making, for example, on having literally 2 decades of high success just on his music alone, just the royalties off the music from Maroon 5 have to be just insane. Not to mention a very successful top 10 TV show on national TV. When does it become enough? And just the absolute greed, the dishonesty to his wife, the cruelty, and also too, if you're not satisfied in your marriage, just be honest with her. Just say,
get a divorce.
Or
have a separation, or have some. There's a lot of things. Yeah,
he's got enough money to maintain easily 2 households. Just say, hey, babe, I really do love you, but I've got a sweet tooth for 22-year-olds, just like Leonardo DiCaprio. But at least Leonardo DiCaprio is smart enough not to get married.
Yep.
And maybe what he does isn't super ethical, and I'm not recommending, you trade in, your girlfriends like you trade in cars. You put 40,000 miles on them in 2 years, and then you dump them like Leo does. But literally, at least the honesty.
But Jenny, Leo's only like 5'6". I mean, I'm not. I mean, we think of him as this. As a normal
short.
But what I'm saying is So as a human being, regardless of your celebrityness, he plays this big, taller than life person on screen, but in real life, he's not. And so it's understandable why he wants to do these things, because this is not something that he would be able to do if he was an average person. Women wouldn't be flocking. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
Yeah.
To be able to pull the honeys he pulls,
Yeah.
you got to have 1 and 2 of the BWs, a big wallet or a big weasel.
Exactly.
And I'm guessing it's the big wallet.
He's got a bit. Yeah. I would agree. Okay.
But anyway, subject number 2. Speaking of grown-ass douchebags, Brett Favre likes to steal from the poor and give to himself. The problematic Trumper, anti-Black Lives Matter movement took money from the state of Mississippi.
Yep.
Quite a bit of money, from what I understand, millions of dollars.
Yep.
He knew that the money was supposed to go to programs to lift people out of poverty. And it really became a big issue with the recent storm damage and all that happened in Mississippi, and especially in Jackson, where the population's somewhere around 70 or 80% people of color.
It's actually higher.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe even 85%.
Yeah.
And that they're short money, and
they can't get water.
And kind of, they were saying, well, yeah, the state of Mississippi kind of, the governor kind of laughed about it too, which probably wasn't a really good thing. But yeah, we gave a big old sack of money to like Brett Favre and things of this nature, and sounds like they're going to do an investigation. But again, we're going back to these really rich and powerful men just doing what they want when they want, and just we've always known Brett Favre was problematic. I mean, even early in his career, he was nasty. But just what a dick! I mean, he doesn't. From a program that was the money was supposed to go to people in poverty. Just come on. I
knew he was. I've always known he was kind of in that dickish Dick Santos group of people. Like Aaron Rodgers, they're very smug. He's very arrogant, and so karma always comes back and gets these kind of people. And so when I read about this story and how they're investigating him, and more is even coming out that he even took money from that money that he knew was supposed to go to other places. He needs to be treated with like anybody else. And it's not going to change his views. He's still going to be a pro-Trumper, but. Yeah, I know, but it's one of those things where admittedly there's a certain satisfaction to see what's happening to him.
Oh no, I mean whatever happens to him, especially if I believe that there's talk of criminal charges.
Yeah,
but just what an ass, because he's made a ton of money over his career, plus endorsements, and he played pro football for what, 40 fucking years. Like, I mean, didn't he come into the league in like 1970? I mean, this he played football forever and at a very high level. He was a quarterback.
But he was such a dick, they never let him go into announcing. That's how much people didn't like him.
Well, yeah, no, he's a horse's ass. Like he's one of those really toxic human beings that probably even his teammates probably didn't like him type thing. He was like a Herschel Walker, very toxic, very me, I.
Yeah.
Green Bay seems to have a history of picking those kind of quarterbacks, but it just, what an ass. Makes the Grinch look like a saint, at least at the end.
Hey, but the one thing that I just can't get out of my mind, I know this is terrible. I just can't get out of my mind every time I hear his name, that terrible dick pic he sent. Did you ever see that? You remember he had sent some lady when he was married. He was in a hotel room and he sent some lady, a reporter or someone, a picture, a dick pic.
Yeah.
And the pic was such a bad picture. And I was screaming at the picture going, do you not have any gay friends to show you how to groom and get the best angle or something? It was so bad. I was just embarrassed for him.
And it goes along the lines of the first topic in Adam Levine. And dropping into girls' DMs on the Instagram and, hey, what's up, girls? And that sort of thing. And these are men that are of a certain age and a certain accomplishment where you just go, well, how stupid is that? Just, you like you're already Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Why would you need to send a dick pic? Why would you need to steal money from the poor? I mean,
and why would you want to send a bad one?
Yeah, I mean, at least download something off of, there's millions of porn pics.
Exactly.
Why not just get a picture of just a point? Like, it's not going to matter once he shows up at the hotel room and it goes from being, a home wrecker to, a white quarterback, size. Because it's going to be Brett Favre, and they're not going to really care. Or better yet, just don't send dick pics. But to me, what universe does that even work?
Well, that's right. But what's terrible about that picture, because I also thought of the person he was sending it to, how disrespectful to the woman to send her such an ugly picture. I mean, you think so little of her that you didn't even move your pubic hair. He had all this blonde pubic hair, red pubic hair, and it was just, it was nasty. I was like,
I forgot about that.
Oh my God. It was just like, I don't,
do you
not watch
you can afford to go wax. You can go afford to wax. Like you're making $10-20 million a year plus endorsement.
Yes.
Drop into a friggin' health spa.
Get some scissors
and just break out, the $50 bill that it takes to get a really good wax job. And then you don't have to worry about it for 6 weeks and just, make it at least camera ready. I mean, come on. I mean, if you're going to go if you're going to have the awful practice of sending dick pics, which I do not recommend, I think it should be illegal. But if you're going to do it, at least spend the $50-$70, probably another $20 tip.
Yeah.
Just to make it look good, just like your front yard. You want to manicure it right. Everybody's going to see it. And if you're going to be sending out dick pics to randos, you definitely want to get out the hedge trimmers. Anyway, we are up against our first break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye-bye. Happy pod. And who knew we were going to jump into Brett Favre's grooming habits? Anyway, but you just never know. We do go off the rails on this show. Anyway, interesting commentary from our good friend Trump today. He got into a verbal war with Governor Dixakis, or some people know him as DeSantis.
Yeah.
But he referred to DeSantis as fat, phony, and whiny. Now, the phony and the whiny part I get.
Yeah.
But have you seen Trump lately? They had a picture of him sitting down near his golf course. Let me tell you, he has been hitting the McDonald's drive-thru. Probably staying away from the Hardee's drive-thru, my pillow guy. But anyway, he's definitely been, supersizing the fry order. I guess he's, getting himself a little bit of booty before he, goes to prison. I don't know. I mean, Ben's got back. And of course he's always had the boiler on the front. But anyway, what nerve does he have to be called DeSantis fat? I
did not hear that. That is very interesting. Yeah.
And he of course, DeSantis has got presidential dreams, as well, and he's kind of taking up the mantle for the MAGA movement. And so I guess Trump, in his infinite wisdom, got bored or high on narcotics and narcissism, and just said, "Hey, let me take a crack at all DeSantis." And but yeah, like, the phony and whiny part I get. The fat's like hilarious. I mean, you talk about the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, I mean, he is.
So what did you say? Did DeSantis say anything back, or
I didn't see a reply. I don't even know if he even gave a reply. He may just ignored it.
I don't think he would. He'd be silly to get into a fight with Trump.
Well, I mean, would be shocking.
Yes.
I mean,
yes, I would be shocked.
About, DeSantis is definitely a MAGA protege. There's no telling what will come out of DeSantis' mouth. I mean, I honestly am here for it. I would love to see them in a junior high name calling, oil wrestling, pay-per-view moment.
Doing this.
Personally, it would be the best TV ever. Honestly, I'd love to see them debate each other.
The scratches.
Like a pre-presidential debate or something. Even though, there's a little pesky little governor's race that DeSantis maybe want to pay attention to. But anyway, I just, a lot of this news, and I'm going to touch on this again, but you remember I said in 2019, in the end, who's going to undo the Republican Party, and especially the MAGAs, is going to be other Republicans. They've always, I mean, it's just like Nixon, it was just like Reagan. A lot of the whistleblowers on all their stuff was other Republicans, because hey, Republicans, conservatives are greedy anyway. I mean, just saw the Brett Favre case, and stealing from the poor there in Mississippi. These guys and gals will rip each other apart for anything, and I'm here for it. The more they go at each other, the better it is.
I'm seeing, as you're speaking, I'm seeing a report from the Texas Tribune about how Ted Cruz and Donald Trump are getting into a fight. So all these queens of it, you can't put queens all in one room and not expect a fight.
Oh yeah. I mean, Cruz has been coming at Trump.
Lindsey Graham and him.
Oh, I mean, they're. I think for one, they realize that Trump's going to prison. That there's no way. There's no way to bury 1,100 documents. The FBI has made this way too public. There's just no way. There's no workaround on this. And the January 6th case is heating up. In fact, one of the sections that we'll talk about tonight is actually going to cover the intel that's been dug up, and it's pretty rough. It has a lot to do with the phones and subpoenas they just issued and some other things. But yeah, I think the wagons are circling for the Trump crime family and all their associates. And I think there's and plus the New York thing with the AG there. There's 37 concurrent civil suits and criminal investigations on them, and we haven't even touched the intimidating the secretary of whatever for the state of Georgia. There's so many cases going on; it's hard to even keep track. I mean, it's just really going to be who's going to get him first. Who's going to come in there and clack him up and clack up his family? And I think that's going to be a huge celebration. What do you think? I mean, to me, I think it's going to be almost like a Pride weekend, but across the whole country.
I think we're seeing signs of them in a panic mode, and I think that they, which we kind of mentioned this when we started hearing them saying how they were going to have this red wave and all this kind of stuff. And at that time, I didn't want to get too into it, but I wanted them to continue to be so overconfident, because it's usually the people that are overconfident that make those mistakes. And you have to run like you're losing. And when you run like you're winning, you make mistakes. And they have become so arrogant. Still got a couple more weeks left before, we can know for sure. But I think that they are so late in the game now, they had to make all of those adjustments before Labor Day.
Oh,
and so
easily. Yeah. I think I think the Dobbs decision being so far before the election has given Democrats such a headwind that if they were I think it was horrible timing for the Republicans because you've had all summer for women to just brew this anger and get people registered to vote. Like, I think that if there's one single driving force as far as new people registering to vote in an off year, like a non-presidential year, it's going to be that Dobbs decision. We've seen so much heat coming from that, and then of course the very public hearings in the House with January 6th. I think there's just such a momentum and such a fatigue of the Republican Party is that I think it's going to supersede issues, because the one downside of Biden being so successful that he's taken care of a lot of the major issues, or began to address a lot of the major issues. And it's really going to become, who do they hate more? And the Republicans have given the American voter every reason to hate the Republican Party, which is cool. The Dobbs decision alone, the pushback on the student loans, things of that nature, I think is literally taking, especially a lot of young Americans, said, screw you guys. I need the student loan paid off. I need my reproductive rights. And the Republicans are scrambling on how to figure out how to both keep their political win for something they've wanted for 50 years and still not look like the totalitarian assholes that they are. And that's going to be almost impossible. And speaking of this, I told you so. And I said this in 2019. I brought it up again. But 60 Minutes had an amazing expose Sunday night. And they interviewed a guy that is at the center of the investigation on the phone calls. So one of the interesting aspects of January 6th is there was a tremendous amount of phone calls going into the White House switchboard itself. Many of them were coming from different people, talking heads in the Republican Party, the Fox media, of course, your Congress people, but also a lot of the people on the ground fighting and attacking the Capitol. And the person heading up the investigation is a former Republican. Actually, he was a sitting congressman in District 5 of Virginia, one of the most conservative, one of the most notable districts. It's been around since the beginning of our country. In fact, I believe James Madison was one of the
James Madison. That was his seat.
So this guy's name is Denver Riggleman, and now describes himself as not only an independent, but he actually calls himself an unaffiliated. And this was a guy that bled red at one time. That was a legit prototype, but he got primaried by the Republican Party because he dissented from Trump and so much of the craziness that went on. Got primaried out of office several years ago. And then one of the interesting things about Mr. Riggleman, Congressman Riggleman, is he also worked for the NSA for 20 years and in intelligence, no less, and communications. And so the January 6th committee brought him on as a special investigator, specifically to catalog all the calls. There's about 2 million to 3 million data points. It's a big part of that subpoena that we just saw with the Mike Lindell phone and the Hardys. All those associates. So that was part of that too. Of course, his chief of staff as well, that is voluntarily come in to drop Trump in the grease, and a lot of the data that person handed over as well. But literally, they've made this huge spreadsheet, and he says, we don't have everything, but we have enough. He says it's over. He says we have a complete roadmap on how January 6th went down, and even weeks before that. So they've got data on phone calls going as of the night of the election in November all the way through January 6th and even days after that on who's been calling, why they called, all kinds of transcripts on texts and stuff. And they put this giant puzzle together, and he says, I mean, it literally shows all the players. It shows everybody, and it's not. Let's just say, and it's coming from a guy that A, used to be a Republican, B, probably never would have done this if Trump was just not so awful,
Yes.
And we've talked about it earlier in the show. We've talked about it a million times on both of our shows. And these Republicans are coming apart at the seams, and it's guys like this that have the know-how, the expertise, and the knowledge inside the Republican Party that, hey, nothing's worse than a burned politician. And
you know what I was most impressive? I saw that 60 Minutes episode yesterday. What I was most impressed about him, you look at him, typical Freedom Caucus kind of guy, very what you would think, kind of person, but he was not like the MAGA Republicans. He wasn't a dick.
No, not at all.
And I was most impressed because his wife said, they own a winery, and his wife said
Bourbon
it started
distillery.
to. Yeah, bourbon. That's right. Yeah, bourbon's. That's right.
Good old Virginia boy.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And he said, she said, things started going downhill when he made the decision to officiate a gay wedding of one of his staff members.
Right.
And once he did that officiating, the MAGA Republicans and all of those people started turning on him and started calling him all kinds of names, saying he was abusing a pedophile, the stuff that they use against us. It was prequel to all of that. And he just said, I did what I did, and there was no apology. He was just, this is who I am, and so forth. So I was really appreciative that he did that. Now, did he know the backlash? I have no idea. But what's important, he didn't really care. He was like, you know what? This is the job that I'm doing, and you don't like it, I don't have to be in office. That was impressive to me.
As a Republican, a lot like my dad, my biological dad, that typically has voted Republican most, if not all their life, but has also served their country in other capacities.
Yes.
And has this sense of duty to the country first.
Yes.
And he may be conservative on some issues, but he's also got that amalgam of common sense. It's like my dad in vaccines.
Yes.
He was one of the first people in the Houston VA just get in line and say, no. I'm protecting my life because vaccines are common sense things. These are certain things like, with this guy too, he said, my staffers asked me to marry them. He felt it as an honor. He felt privileged to be able to do that they thought so much of him. And so you got to look at that and go, it just made sense to him, and he's one of those common sense. Well, now he's a former Republican, but he's one of these common sense conservatives. I call them the good old boys that aren't bigots. They're not idiots. They're not, who am I to judge? And it's none of my business. And
those are the kind of Republicans you and I remember.
Well, these are the ones we grew up with, for the
yes, exactly. Exactly.
The local mayor, the local county commissioner, whomever, that was a little bit more just, they're more of a firm believer of mind your own business and do your
exactly.
thing.
That's real libertarianism, really.
Ish, but just a little bit more common sense,
Yeah, exactly.
Libertarians are,
that's a good point. Yeah,
kind of off the rails, crazy. But anyway, we are up against our next break, and then we'll be right back with more Two Queers in a Truck.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching us on Two Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
And we are back. Yeah, I agree with you to a certain point. Like, I think, especially with local officials and some of your Congress people, is that there was a time when most Republicans had some sort of sense of duty first, and especially veterans like a John McCain, people like that that had these ideals that of actually putting America first, but using some sort of common sense, some sort of metric, and they just weren't mouth breathers going off. And now we've got these people that are not only not America first, they're not patriotic at all. As we just saw with that one congressman or congressional candidate in Ohio, it's just like making up resumes and just they're just running their mouths. And it's a party that I've said all along. I don't even think they've gone hard right. I think they've just gone off into this regressive totalitarian state because they think that they just realize that that's the only way they think they can win, is that they just got to overwhelm people. Anyway, our next topic is a very bizarro, very creepy Christian story. A second grader in Florida in this Christian school got an assignment sent home, and the parents objected to it. In fact, they refused to let the child do it. The assignment is that you are going to read a book while being in the bathtub. And take pictures of it. Take pictures of the child. The parents are supposed to take pictures of the child in the bathtub while reading. One set of parents, one family said, "We're not going to let our child do that. We're not taking pictures of our child in the bathtub."
Okay.
It didn't say with a swimsuit on or not. It literally just said, "Just be in the bathtub reading, and we want pictures of your child in the bathtub."
Okay.
Parents refused. They kicked the child out of school.
Okay.
Now, what I think is weird is that only one family objected to this. No other families objected to this. And you got to figure, even in a private school, they probably got 15, 18 students probably at the second grade class. Why are they the only ones that objected?
What was the purpose of that? Did they say?
They really don't have a reason. And so their press statement was, they tried to back up on this and said, well, it was implied that they're supposed to have the clothes on. But it didn't say it. Like, they've got a screenshot. So the family that objected to this has got a picture of this. I mean, there's nothing that says anything about swimsuit or nothing. It just says, we want a picture of your child in the bathtub.
Sure. Okay.
Good old Christian groomers. But how creepy is that? Why do you need a picture of a kid in a bathtub?
Sure.
Why not just a picture on the sofa, or picture of your dog reading a book, or a picture of your goldfish, or your favorite?
Is there any explanation on why?
No.
From the school?
Well, they don't have one. So the school's scrambling. The authorities are looking into it. Yeah. There's definitely going to be a lawsuit.
Where was this at?
In Florida somewhere.
Why isn't Dick Santos saying something about this?
Well, that's interesting. So some people that have been commenting on Twitter is kind of asking why Dick Santos is not commenting on this. Because clearly he knows by now. And it's getting a lot of traction on Twitter. A lot of people are asking.
This is, and he's supposed to be like defending children and groomers and all kinds of stuff. So
of course, this is a private school, so he doesn't have any preview over this. But there's a lot of comments.
Exactly. There's a lot of things he opens his mouth about that aren't his business.
And I just find it very interesting. I find it very.
But that is a good point, Jenny. How come they were the only ones?
I mean, let me tell you something. If a homework assignment came home to me, and any of my 3 kids was, we got to take a picture of our kiddo in the bathtub, I'm like, the fuck we will. I'm like, no, man, nobody needs a picture of my very young child in the bathtub at all. Like, I wouldn't let it on social media. I'm like, no. I mean, what in the fuck? Like, I take pictures of my own kid in the bathtub.
I don't even like, and I know some people do it. I don't even like when people post pictures of their own kids on social media that are public.
I
I
don't
mean,
either.
I can see if
I
they
never
post it and it's just friends only can see it. But there are many people who post pictures of their kids, especially
Mhm.
elected officials and politicians, and these are young kids. They do not have. They should be protecting them from being exposed to.
I
I
I
just think that that's wrong.
my thing is, and this, when my kids were young, of course, it was my youngest two. It was the infancy of
Mhm.
Facebook and
Yeah.
social media and Instagram, that sort of thing. But I didn't let my kids have social media accounts when they were young.
Hmm.
They were well in high school before they had any access to social media. They never had access to phones when they were
Yeah.
young either. So they never had a phone until they were quite a bit older, and they were involved in sports and things like that. So, a lot of times they needed a cell phone to call us, or text us to come pick them up from after school activities and things like that. But we computer time was very limited. It just to be, because social media and computers and phones, they're two-way doors, and to have a young impressionable mind access to whatever and whatever. And we just see with the Adam Levine case where he's IMing, these amateur models on Instagram. You can still do that with kids too. You could still, even if it was your account and you didn't check it a lot, and your kid was actually posting on there. And I've seen this with some parents that they'll let them use their account. My problem is that if you're posting on there and then you're saying, "Hey, it's really me," and some perv is seeing that, first of all, you're exposing your kid. And I 100% agree. I think some people really overexpose their kids at very young ages to a lot of things, and especially if the kid has access to those pages, if they have access to ways of communication to the outside world, and the public knows it. As we all know, Brett Favre case of texting or however he was messaging dick pics, Adam Levine sliding into people's DMs, and this was between adults. But the same technology could be used to go after kids in so many different ways. So it just overall is just seedy and gross. And fancy that a Christian school wanting pictures of children in bathtubs. Absolutely no reason for that whatsoever. Not a shock. We know who the groomers are in this world, which is Bible thumping Christians. Always is. It's always pedophile Pete, the youth pastor at the Southern Baptist Church, or a creepy ass celebrity, or whatever. It always is. Speaking of creepers, Dr. Oz, and we talked about this in the show earlier when I asked Dr. B about this, but he went at length to talk about, how he refused to operate on smokers. And my deal is, if you remember back when the ACA first happened and said, "Oh, Democrats are going to create death panels and they're going to decide who gets medical care and who lives and dies and all this," yeah, you hear, these ultra right wing, Republican politicians running for office, and literally what Dr. Oz described at length on a video interview is that basically he was a one-man death panel.
So here's the question I would have is, why was he asked that question? Is that what it was, or
Well,
do you know?
He's repeatedly said on his show,
Sure,
that he takes a stand against smoking and smokers, and that he refused to operate on anybody that was a smoker.
Okay.
And so, and of course, he's always said controversial stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I guess the video of him saying that is cropped back up and got asked the question.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Hey, you Republicans keep talking about death panels and
sure,
people making life and death decisions in healthcare like it's a bad thing. The only Democrats do that. Yet, here's a video of you saying literally, "Hey, I have my own one-person death panel."
So he doubled down on it and agreed with it and said, "Yeah, I said that, and I still support that." Is that?
I mean, literally, it was him saying it. So,
Okay, yeah.
he has so many hundreds of hours of airtime and
sure.
his, between him selling all of his vitamins and lotions and potions on his show, which he's made like $150 million off. He's also been very controversial on maybe shady or unethical or questionable medical practices and opinions and miracle cures and all this.
Sure.
This is just one of many things that makes you wonder what kind of senator he would really be if he's making decisions like that. And especially, let's say he did win this year and next year, medical insurance reform comes into play. And it's one of the many issues facing our country. You got a guy that's going to make decisions like that, like, wow, like
I still think that because of how spiteful and mean-spirited his campaign has been towards the Democratic candidate, that I really wish the Democratic candidate would let the gloves off. And he has, to a certain extent, let the gloves off and use the same dog whistle tactics generally used against.
Have you not seen his Instagram page, Fetterman's? Like,
is he going after him?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he?
Fetterman's been brutal. I mean, in an ethical way.
Sure.
But if all the candidates running for Senate against the Republican, Fetterman's not played off Oz at all. Like,
excellent. You have to. You have to do that against someone like that.
Well, first of all, you've got a TV doctor that has such a history of saying wacky things, just like Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
You don't really have to, like, all you got to do is play some of the stuff that he says and then comment on it. And anybody with any kind of level of common sense would go, that's crazy. And Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker both just literally, even Herschel Walker the other day said, I know
I'm not
that
smart.
Dr. Warnock is way smarter than me, that he's going to beat me in a debate. You're like, and so you're interviewing for the same job he is.
Yeah.
And you're
saying, I know I'm less qualified. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And like I think you can't make this shit up. Like, this is their best and brightest going up against our best and brightest. And you can't, I don't feel sorry for them. They've gone after trying to have all these celebrities running, and the ones that weren't even celebrities have tried to turn themselves into celebrities, like Boebert, MTG, and Gates, and all this. And you have to just look at them and go, wow, they really pride themselves on being stupid and just saying outrageous things. It's just like wow, Gates said this outrageous thing and went to a youth convention when we all know these were being investigated for trafficking a minor and having sex with a minor. We have to go say something just as stupid or stupider to even get any bandwidth. And what does that say about what the Republican Party really thinks about their voters? Like, I mean, they realize that stupid sells to them.
Yeah. And the problem when the problem is, if you're banking your success on stupid people, you have a high chance of A, them not showing up because they're so stupid they get the dates wrong, or B, pissing them off because they don't have the ability to think past the last thing they heard. Right. So if they're stupid, they can be influenced by many ways. And if that is what you're basing your strength, like Trump is basing his strength on MAGA Republicans, I say go for it, because they can turn on you in a dime. All it takes is something.
Well, and you're completely right. You're completely right, because that type of voter is very fickle. They're not logic.
Yes,
they don't see the logic like Democrats will. Have more critical thinking skills, and they look at, they go, Fetterman makes sense. Like, he says this, he does this, he stands for this, because Democrat voters typically are more issue based. They typically know what issues they believe in, And if they believe that the candidate that they're voting for will come out and do that, like, there was a reason why so many people came out for Biden in 2020. They said, he stands on this, and this.
Yeah.
And also what's helped Biden recently is that he's kept those promises. Everything he's promised so far, he's put into law. He has created the gateways for everything that he promised. And one of the big holdouts or criticisms early in the summer is where he didn't do anything about student loans. And clearly he had the intention to do that. So, but that we are at the end of our show and the hint tanking. But anyway, we definitely enjoyed this show and got into some pretty hilarious topics and that aren't necessarily funny, but the behaviors you almost have to laugh at some point and go. The theme of tonight is really stupid is as stupid does, and whether it's a celebrity or a former foosball player or a politician running for office, we are in trouble.
It's good. We only got 5 shows left before election.
I know. It's really scary.
Coming down to the wire.
How many famous stupid people there are in this country, and it's no wonder that people laugh at Americans so much. But anyway, that is the wrap up of Two Queers in a Truck, and we'll end the show the same way we started tonight, with a little bit more Maroon 5 and some Adam Levine and the song "Girls Like You."
I like some of his songs.
Yeah. He's got some DMs hitting right to you if you're.
That's right. Bye, Boo.
Bye, Boo. Hey, thanks for watching Two Queers in a Truck. Hope you have a great week, and see you in October. Bye, Boo.
Bye, Boo.